Test. Alright, we're good. Let's, do us a review. So, here's the thing. There is a war going on right now, ladies and gentlemen. You might not know it, you might not have heard of it, but right now the internet is ablaze in the fires of war. Brothers killing brothers, sisters killing mothers, villages being pillaged and raped. It's absolute pandemonium, all over a single question. Is Superman 2025 good? Yes, really, people have decided to go to war over this movie. I'm not exaggerating here. People are out for blood. And honestly, I just find that fucking hilarious. Yes, sir, when I sat my ass down to watch the new Superman film, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But I do want to talk about it, both the movie and the online discourse surrounding the film, because I find it interesting and, again, funny. And before we get into the controversies surrounding the film, we should probably do a small discussion of the film itself. I think it's fine. Alright, I'll go a little bit more into detail. The film follows Superman just a few years after starting his career. Recently, he got into some controversy after stepping in to stop one country from invading another, which sparked the question, should Superman be able to do that? Many people, even who don't want this war to go on, agree Superman shouldn't really be getting involved in this sort of thing. With Superman thinking, hey, these people are going to start a war and kill a bunch of people, that's bad, I have to stop it. And just before the movie begins, Superman gets his ass kicked by this guy, the Hammer of Bahavia, which is the country that's going to be doing the invasion, or was going to do the invasion. I should keep that in, actually. It's a good... If I flub the line, I'm going to keep it, because it's within character, because I'm doing Clark Kent right now. Because of this, Superman's public image is a bit on the rocks right now. The government already didn't really trust him too much, because he's a superpowered person he can't control. Now he's going off stopping wars and getting involved in politics and shit, and they're getting a little nervous. Things get even worse for Superman when Lex Luthor discovers that the message that his parents left for him when he was sent to Earth from Krypton, which he never heard the second half to because it was corrupted, actually says that Superman should be taking over the planet. He just thought they were saying to save it. They cut off right before they said, you gotta take over this planet, and then fuck a bunch of girls. Oh, I shouldn't say fuck, because Clark wouldn't say that. And have sex with a bunch of girls, and put babies in them, and start Krypton all over again. Now Superman has to sort of go on a journey of self-discovery, really figure out who he is, because obviously this is a shock to his system, and along the way, the rest of his friends have to uncover the conspiracy of what's really going on here. Spoilers for the movie, by the way. I'm gonna leave a little time here for, when it's not, so, yeah. Shocker of all shocks, Lex Luthor is actually the bad guy. And turns out he orchestrated basically this entire thing just to kill Superman. It turns out that this Hammer of Bahavia is actually Ultraman, who is currently under the control of Lex Luthor, and he just basically calls out commands and Ultraman does it, and since Lex has been studying Superman for years now, he knows how he fights immediately, so he just says, A51, and then Ultraman hits him with a punch that Superman couldn't predict. The story is serviceable, there were a couple of things in there I didn't expect, and the characters were all well handled. I just think that probably the film's biggest problem is the sheer amount. Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific, and Element Man are all in this movie, and well, that's a lot of heroes to set up in one film. To be fair, I think the film does handle it about as well as you possibly could. Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, and Hawkgirl are all introduced very early on, so we have enough time to really get to know their character, and Element Man he's introduced a little bit later on in the film, but he still serves a vital purpose, and he does get time to expand upon a little bit of his character. Obviously, though, with the majority of the time being spent on Superman and his close-knit friends, there really isn't time for the Justice Gang, as they call themselves in this movie. The only member of the Justice Gang that really gets any real fleshing out is Mr. Terrific, and to be fair, I feel like that makes sense. Pretty much everyone knows at least the basics of Green Lantern, and Hawkgirl isn't really that hard to figure out, so giving us some time with Mr. Terrific, who is pretty much the most unknown name in the movie, it makes sense. Sure, I recognize Mr. Terrific because I watched Justice League Unlimited when I was younger, but I feel like a lot of people wouldn't really know him. Hell, even I didn't really have a grasp on his character because he didn't really get that much usage in that show, at least from what I remember. Outside of our heroes, I think the main Superman cast is done justice. Because this is a few years after Superman already revealed himself to be Superman, him and Lois are already in a relationship, and Lois Lane already knows that he's Clark Kent. However, they're still very early on in their relationship, and Lois isn't sure if she's willing to commit, which is causing problems, and so she has to go through a character arc, relearning just how much Superman means to her, and eventually being able to fully commit to a relationship. I like it, it's handled well, it's cute, and it grounds this otherwise fantastical story. I also like that Jimmy Olsen is just a slut. Not only is it just funny that this completely average-looking guy just has absolute bombshells fawning over him for basically no reason. He's not trying, it doesn't even really seem like he wants it half the time, but it's also just a nice thing to give such a typically one-note character, and it serves the story because he has to use a relationship that he has in order to save the day. So good for you, Jimmy. The effects are really good, especially given how recently CGI has been going down the tube. I have to give them credit, it looks really solid in this film. To the point, I'm going to give a genuinely rare piece of praise here. There was a scene where I wasn't sure if a character was CGI or like a puppet. I know I've been very positive about the movie so far, but there are a couple of things I want to criticize before we move on into the controversy. For one, the writing can be a bit sloppy at times. They do that thing a lot of modern movies do because they don't trust the audience, where instead of just having us understand their personality through their actions and stuff like that, they have them literally just say it to the camera, basically. It happens near the end of the film, spoiler, where Lex Luthor is doing a little monologue to Superman during the final battle, where he goes, "Yes, I am envious of you. That's what drives me to want to kill you." And it's like, what are we doing here? Generally sloppy writing like that, and again, just the idea of introducing so many characters, I can't imagine what someone who has no idea who any characters beyond like the big hitters in DC would think of this movie. Especially because the Justice Gang really does just kind of show up early on in the movie. Superman is fighting a big monster that's terrorizing the city, and they just show up like, "Hey there, Superman, you need some help?" And it's just like, who are these people? What are they doing here? They really do just show up without any fanfare, and then they just start fighting the monster. Despite all of those criticisms, I still think that the movie is fine. It's not great, it's not terrible, it's good, average. I had fun with it, I enjoyed my time, the 2.5 hours just flew right on by. It is a completely okay movie. But it seems some people just can't live with that, can they? What's that? People are being stupid on the internet. Well, this looks like a job for... Oh fuck, wait, this is the wrong shirt. So yeah, let's talk about this shit now. This story begins a good couple years ago, back when Zack Snyder got fucked over by DC. To make a long story short, Zack Snyder was the head of the original DC universe, the one that is now dead, which starred Henry Cavill as Superman. That is not in any way connected to this movie. He directed Batman v Superman, which sucked, and then he went on to direct the Justice League movie. Or at least, he was supposed to. However, a horrible tragedy forced Zack Snyder to have to walk away from the film just to deal with things, and so a different director, Joss Whedon, was brought in to effectively finish the film. However, Warner Bros., unhappy with the tone that they were getting up to this point, basically told him to redirect the entire film and took Zack Snyder's project completely away from him. In other words, Warner Bros. Exploited a tragedy to get Zack Snyder off the project so they can get the movie that they wanted, not the movie that he wanted. It was fucked up, and for the worse, because the original Justice League movie sucks shit. A lot of people got on Zack Snyder's side for this and basically started to demand Warner Bros. Give him the money to finish the film as he intended and then release it as the Snyder Cut. Now initially, a lot of people were dismissive of this, thinking it was stupid because, well, let's face it, it was. The idea that Warner Bros. Would ever cave to a bunch of people on Twitter is insane. If it weren't for the fact that they were in a desperate time. See, the DC Universe, especially after Justice League, just kinda completely imploded in on itself as an absolute failure. So desperate to start making some money back, Warner Bros. Caved. They gave Zack Snyder the time and money he needed to finish the project. He did, the Snyder Cut got released, and against all odds, it got generally positive reviews. People liked it. And a lot of people felt vindicated because of that. and I think it was a bad idea. Don't get me wrong, in a vacuum, it is a great story of a man who, against all odds, with the help of millions, got his original vision out to the people and ended up being good. It's a heartwarming story, but I think it gave a lot of people a bit of a power trip. Now, basically, whenever a movie studio does something stupid like this, there is a massive amount of people decrying them and demanding for their idea of where the studio should go, despite the fact that there was only a very specific set of circumstances that led to the Snyder Cut coming out. Of course, there's also just a lot of people who are just generally Zack Snyder fans, and so when this new movie came out and it was announced that it was going to be going in a much lighter direction than the Snyderverse, a lot of people just immediately said it was going to be terrible. If you go on Twitter and you look up the word Zack Snyder, James Gunn, or just Superman, you will find some shit. James Gunn could never make such emotions involving parents. This abomination from James Gunn is not Superman. We need a story and director that inspires actors to embody the actual characters, not blurt out obscenities. Bring back Zack Snyder and hashtag Henry Cavill Superman. Hashtag restore the Snyderverse. Why do I feel like he smiles too much? Like not serious enough to be Superman. Laugh emoji.
We need to see the epic conclusion to Zack Snyder's
real art
Justice
back.
League.
We need to see David Superman
learn the
and
hard
Justice
way
League
that
unite the
internet
world
ratings
against
don't
Darkseid.
pay the
We
bills.
need to
Not
see
interested in
real hope.
Hashtag
DC had a visionary who treated superheroes like gods and myths, with heart, tragedy, and hope. His name was Zack Snyder. Snyder built something that no other director could replicate. The fans still want his vision. Hashtag I didn't even, I'm on the, you can't even see me. Oh my god, I didn't even see this one yet. This is a brand new one for me. Hashtag sell ZSJL to Netflix. Hashtag sell Snyderverse to Netflix. Wow, I didn't know that was a thing. You guys are stupid. What do you mean sell the Snyderverse to Netflix? Why would Netflix want that? The Snyderverse was a failure, critically and commercially. No one wants it except for you. I don't care that the Snyder Cut was a good movie. Overall, the Snyderverse, I keep saying, Snyder is such a fucking weird word to say. Overall, the Snyderverse was a failure because it sucked. The Snyder Cut is like one of the only good movies in that entire universe. I guess there was also Wonder Woman and maybe the first Aquaman. Other than that, every movie in that universe fucking sucked. There's a reason why they had to get rid of it. It wasn't working, it wasn't making money, they had to go in a different direction. But of course, I'm just some Marvel fanboy or pussy Philistine who can't understand art. Bite me, bitch. I like films that are serious and gritty if they're written well. The problem with the Snyderverse is it wasn't written well. Do we need to talk about Martha again? Newton's third law is that every action needs an equal but opposite reaction. And this is just as true on the internet. If a large amount of people start saying the same thing on the internet, without fail, regardless of what it is, a large amount of people will show up, start saying the opposite shit just to spite them. I'm not gonna read them all right now because it's less funny, but a lot of people have come out of the woodworks and are now suddenly praising James Gunn as a god who can do no wrong. Now, I don't want to rain on the parade of people who actually like the film, like me, but I can't help but feel like some of these people are just grifting just based on the way they talk. And here's why I find this funny. All of this, the flame wars, the arguments, the slurs, I'm assuming that people said slurs, I mean it is the internet after all of this is over a completely average movie. This film is not great. This film is not terrible. It's not a magnificent achievement. It's not an absolute dumpster fire. It is average, good, fine, a solid 6 out of 10. And yet people are going batshit insane over it, and it's starting to drive me batshit insane. I think ultimately it just comes down to the fact that this is the internet, and there are two main extreme groups on the internet. The types of people who get joy from making other people as miserable as possible, and the types of people who absolutely abhor any amount of negativity at all, and just try and make everything as positive as possible. Both of these people are horribly annoying. So the Zack Snyder fans came out as soon as the movie got announced, decrying that the film was going to be bad because it wasn't what they wanted. Then the trolls latched onto that and started making it a whole thing, and then the White Knights rode out on their horses and started defending this movie's honor as if that's something that fucking matters. Hell, that doesn't even cover the whole thing. That doesn't even start to talk about the people who are upset or in praise of the film due to its, politics. Now, I generally try to avoid the P word on this channel, but for the sake of fully covering the controversy, the film does have a slight political hint to it. Now, to be fair to the film, it handles it subtly, like it should. It doesn't beat you over the head with it, it just sort of sprinkles its idea around a little bit and allows you to draw your own conclusions. There's stuff I didn't even pick up on until after I thought about it for a minute. For example, that whole invasion thing, I thought it was meant to be a critique of Ukraine, until I thought about it for a little bit more. Spoilers, but as it turns out, Lex Luthor is funneling billions of dollars of military aid into a vaguely Middle Eastern nation which wants to invade a neighboring vaguely Middle Eastern nation and then literally split that country in half. Gee, I wonder what military controversy that is a critique of. Now, of course, if I just lay it all out like that, it doesn't sound subtle at all, but in the film, it's treated a lot more subtly. I didn't even realize it was supposed to be Israel and Palestine when I was watching it. I thought it was supposed to be Russia and Ukraine. And of course, with basically anything political, yeah, it became a massive shit show online. And honestly, that just makes it even funnier. And so now, if we put it all together, the people arguing about the Snyderverse, the people arguing about the politics, the movie itself, if we cram it all together and we analyze it, what do we get from this? People are stupid, we like to fight, the movie's fine, watch it if you want to. I'm Sir Strongman, and that was the thing.